was, I guess she is an American citizen, but Goo.
Yeah.
She was
Skier,
awesome.
3 disciplines and crushing it. Yeah.
She did amazing.
She lit it up.
And she skied for China.
She got 2 of those golds for China. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, she was fun to watch, man.
Yeah.
A lot of like good personality. Just absolutely loved being out there on the snow. And
right.
The board and ski sports in particular, on the extreme side of things, there's such a culture of community with them, and it was one of the things I really noticed this games of watching your extreme skiing, your extreme board sports versus watching your like figure skating and your high discipline like ski racing sports. It's like, dude, they are cutthroat.
Yeah,
and they could care less. I mean, they're willing to Tara Lipinski you, or not Tara Lipinski. Who was it? It's the girl that beat Nancy Kerrigan.
I would have to, yeah.
That's like a throwback to 1992 Winter Olympics.
I know.
What, Lilyhammer?
I'll look it up.
Nancy Kerrigan was the one that got...
And what's her face? I know. There's I'll keep looking. Right. There's a whole number. Well, figure skating once again did not disappoint in terms of the world of dramatics.
Because it got disappointing drama.
It got wild. Tanya Harding is who you're thinking of, by the way.
There it is. Yeah. I mean, that's just that's figure skating, and that
it kind of
culture,
and it still is, as we saw with the ROC. So going into it though, I forgot the athlete's name, but being 15 years old, I think it's
Valieva.
Yeah.
Camila Valieva. I'm
sure. Either way, I mean, and it is just unfortunate when you factor in the age of the athlete.
She's 15,
right, and then not being able taking a drug test. What I'm disappointed in is you have these tests being taken back in Christmas.
Yeah.
And it's February, and you're just now getting the results.
Okay.
Like, how much of a backlog was there really?
I work for a diagnostic lab company.
Sure.
Our longest test does not take that long.
Yeah.
I mean...
Seems fishy, right?
Yeah.
Seems weird.
It's definitely a little convenient that that's when it popped up.
Yeah.
She's 15... and she is competing at the highest level, but she's 15. I don't blame a 15-year-old for doing that, because the adults around her, in particular in Russian culture, were very pushy, I feel like, in that aspect of like, they just got busted for doping 6 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever it was.
Well, that's why there's still the ROC.
8 years ago in Sochi. And then you turn around, it's like, how can you blame a 15-year-old for doing this? It's like, it's ultimately her fault as the athlete, but she's not old enough to make those moral compass decisions when it comes to this.
No, and just the whole backstory of, I mistakenly took my grandpa's medicine. That's strange.
First of all, we know that's not true.
Right. Like, that's just...
How do you mix grandpa's heart medication?
Right.
And no one's buying that.
And then the benefits from the drugs do merit that you should not have been able to compete.
Agreed.
Because your training regimen could be just so much better.
She shouldn't have been able to compete, and then they let her compete, and then that's really what caused the drama.
Yeah.
Then you had her teammate who was, very emotionally upset after she did win gold, thinking that she should have won gold.
Right.
And she didn't lose to another country. She lost to a fellow teammate.
Right, and lost her mind.
And absolutely, threw a hissy fit. And that's one of the things I don't enjoy about those types of sports, those elitist sports. It's like, man, the culture around them is just so cutthroat. And I remember having a conversation with our marketing department about this, that, this was completely not really her fault. It was the adults around her, and marketing had, told us, like, well, do you think that would happen in America? I said, it absolutely happened. Look at Larry Nassar. And that's way worse than taking the pills.
Yeah.
At least what Larry did was horrendous. That dude should rot in hell. But, it's kind of on the same level. It's like, how can you really blame a 15-year-old? It's the adults around her that made poor decisions. Then the Olympics, allowed her to compete and then put this drama front and center. Right. Instead of just being like, nope, you can't compete. The girls that compete, let them compete unabashed from everything that's going on with you. Because even if she didn't medal, but it put this whole just taint over that all the events that she competed in. and really took the attention away from those that did really well. Like there's a Japanese girl that got bronze in that event, and I can't think of her name, but she was like super excited and super happy. And it's like that should be the focus of what the Olympics is about.
Of course.
Not on Camila's positive drug test.
Yeah. Needless to say, though, I mean, they weren't going to have that medal ceremony. Had she placed, she did not. She finished 4th in the final competition. So it kind of became this wash. Like, what was all the build-up then for? And which is kind of unfortunate. And you just kind of felt bad that, like, in a routine, clearly shooken up, like just not performing at her top ability. And, supposed to be the best skater in the world. But was that because of PED? And it's really just too bad to have that shrouded out.
Because of PED or just the general stress of what happens in these events, in particular in the elitist categories. I mean, Michaela Schifrin had a terrible Olympics, and
we saw that was another
the way that Simone performed in the Summer Olympics, and like just how the American media try to like absolutely destroy her.
Yeah.
Do you think the Russian media is being any kinder? And I feel like our media...
Yeah, I really don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised either way.
I'm sure they're not being very kind over there either, given what their expectations are of their skaters. So it's sad to see, and let's just hope we can have some more community. Let's bring some of the skiers and the snowboarders over to do these sports and teach them a thing or two.
For real, because then on the flip side, you see Shaun White, fall in the last attempt to go for gold. He finished 4th place in the half pipe, looking good. That's a great finish at the Olympics. Made it to the finals. The dude still, can throw down a hell of a run, but it was all just like a good moment for him to end his career. And then to just pivot the conversation to just the theatrics of sports and progression, how about triple corks in the half pipe?
Crazy.
Awesome.
It's getting a little insane. It was already insane.
I'm okay with that, keep it going. Big air and half pipe is looking
all
insane.
The spins. And I think they're super cool and they're fun. But I don't mind if they maybe wanted to throw a higher score on like a super huge method.
Well, there was the one dude who was throwing like the world record air out of a pipe. You're doubling the height of the pipe for how far you launch yourself, and that's wild. And then, of course, the safety component, though, with men's skiing half pipe, I thought was really interesting to watch because the weather was not going to permit the
weather was brutal.
Yeah, the high winds, and they always knew, and the media had talked about it over the 2 weeks building up to that event. We have this windscreen, and they really took into precaution on how to best protect athletes, but they always knew that was going to be a factor. It was kind of unfortunate. Like, at what point do you draw a line? It's like, this is not important enough, because some of those falls, those guys were like landing on inverted, coming down or on the deck. It looked pretty sketchy. When what is too far? Does an athlete have to be paralyzed or worse, like die in the pipe and then say, never mind, we don't need to do this?
There's definitely been just so many people that have been hurt. That is, it is the hardest possible place on a mountain outside of a tree or, a rock.
Sure.
It is just...
it's like it's packed cement. Yeah, exactly. You're just going to...
It is awful. And when you've fallen on it, like both of us have, it is not fun. And our falls were very minor compared to what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And so, it was the wind was definitely a factor, for more than just half pipe. Look at the like 30-meter sprint. It was supposed to be a 50-kilometer sprint for men and women. They had to shorten it to 30 because of the wind, chill temperatures.
Right.
There's a dude that got the frozen Venus.
Yeah.
That's how freaking cold it was. And the wind chill. And it was definitely a factor.
It was a winter Olympics, So you have to take those safety precautions. I wonder if we'll see any changes for future Olympiads, because that is stuff you'd have to take in consideration. Like, what is it really worth? Do these athletes really have to compete right now? Or could we postpone even beyond the scope of the Olympics when they were supposed to happen? Or do we just say, hey, here's how you finished right now, this is where you were ranked, like everyone had these equal parts, almost like a baseball thing. Hey, we made it through 6 innings, here's the score, like we're calling it. I think some kind of
extreme weather protocol should be...
The IOC should really take a look at that, no doubt.
because the wind chill was brutal.
Yeah. No, it looked very cold. But it looked pretty, though, too. I mean, see the snow come in? At first, I was like, what the hell? There's like no snow there. It's all manufactured.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it snowed. They only get like an average of 10 inches or so, something like that. So it was wild for the timing to get that snowfall in there and those extreme cold temps. I mean, it was like a really wintry Olympics. I mean, so I thought that was pretty cool. Like Beijing at least came off as like this very, like that has to be good for their tourism, I think, moving forward as well. I think they probably captured a lot of new skiers and snowboarders or just winter Olympic.
That was one of the big things for them getting that Olympics.
Yeah.
They were massively investing in the infrastructure for ski and snowboard mountains.
No, they're great sports
and stuff like that.
If you've never skied or put a snowboard on or ice skates, man,
go out there and do it. Try something new.
That's our PSA. Let's move on though. And speaking of frozen dinglings, we're drinking a spicy Dickel right now.
I gotta give a shout out to our Dickel. So that's something else that we've definitely made sure we start is what are we drinking today? It's a spicy Dickel.
Spicy Dickel. It's just what we had around. What else are we talking about though? What are we getting into?
In this episode, man, I think that's all I got.
About it. Looking at recaps. So coming up though, we have to touch on MLB and just seeing what's going on.
Yeah, typically next episode
we're getting ready for spring training and it's
our way too early.
Yeah,
and talk. So.
Yeah.
And then your favorite episode is coming up, my man.
Oh, I love it.
You ready?
So much. Yes.
Oh man, if you don't know, you're gonna learn today.
That's right. NCAA.
It's the March Madness tournament.
Yeah. I love making the tournament because you don't have to know anything about anything to make a good bracket, really.
Nah, you just take the 12s over the 5s.
You're really looking at some of the seeding, some of the patterns, but honestly, it is still anyone's game because who's ever come up with a perfect bracket?
Not me.
And the odds are like much larger than winning Powerball. It's like in the quadrillions.
Oh man, that's hard.
It's so near impossible. To get a perfect bracket. That's kind of what I love about it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's just, you're competing with all the other losers out there. That's what it is. I like that.
Who's the best loser?
Who's the best loser?
Like baseball.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I hit 250.
Right.
Oh man, you're in the upper tier.
Yeah.
You fail 3/4 of the time. Great job.
Good job. All right, well then, that's our show. Thanks for tuning in. Marketing, give us some love. Shout out there.
Absolutely.
All right. And we'll be back in a couple weeks. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to Average Sports with Average Guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, and we'll see y'all next time.